Hi, second grade. Today we are doing lesson 9.2. We are going to be doing some explorations today that you'll work on either on your own or with an adult at home. But before we get started and I explain the two activities you're going to be doing, let's talk about the math message. So you should have taken the time to solve the math message before turning on the video. If you haven't, just pause the video and get started on it and then come back to hear some explanations. The math message reads, solve. Explain your thinking to your partner. Well, we can just tell each other our thinking. You can tell it to the computer screen and I'll tell it to the computer screen and that will be our partner. Juan has a cracker and he wants to share equally with two friends. He divided the cracker in an unusual way. Do you think Juan divided the cracker into 3 equal parts? Explain your answer. So as I think about this, my first instinct is to say, no, he didn't divide it into 3 equal parts because these parts here don't look like this part here. But then the closer I look at it, I start to see that I can break these dots up, and I'm going to make it a little bigger over here, and I can use these dots to connect to squares. So I've drawn green lines in here just to kind of connect each square. And then I start to notice that each piece, so this is one person's share here, I'm going to make it red, is made up of 3 small squares of the same size. And then I notice that this person's share is made up of 3 more squares, and those are the same size. So if this share is 3 squares of the same size, which is this share, which is 3 squares of the same size, let's check what fits in the other person's share. So even though the shape of the shares are different, I can tell that each piece is made up of 3 small squares of the same size. And that proves that everyone is getting the same amount. So even though Juan divided up the cracker in an unusual way, each part is equal. So today, one of your explorations is going to be similar to this. These directions were in today's attachments if you need them again. But what you need is Sharing Crackers, pages 249 and 250, which look like this, and you could have printed it from today's email. And then what you're going to do, you're going to pretend that you're sharing crackers on the Sharing Crackers pages. You want to make sure each person gets the same amount. So maybe the pieces don't look like the same shape, but you have to make sure that they're an equal amount. Use the dots to help you draw the line segments to divide the crackers. Do not use diagonal line segments. Write the words to name the parts of the cracker. Look at the Equal Shares poster to help you. Now, you don't have an Equal Shares poster to help you, but what this is referring to is our lesson from yesterday. So if you want to go back and look at our lesson from yesterday and just how we named the fractional parts, you can do that. Then you can talk about how do you know that the parts are equal. So let's just look at how we might connect the dots. So it says this line segment does not connect the dots. Can you see that there's a line segment in between the dots? So that would not work. When we are dividing up the cracker, we have to draw line segments that connect the dots. This line segment is a diagonal line segment. So the directions tell us we cannot use diagonal lines, okay? So no diagonal lines. These line segments connect the dots properly. So let's take a look. We have our cracker, and this person used a line segment that goes all the way across to share. How many people might be sharing this cracker, do you think? Yeah, I think 2 people might share this cracker because there are 2 parts. If I were to name one of the shares, I'm just going to kind of highlight it for you. I'm going to shade it in. If I had to name one of the shares, like this share, what could I call that? You might remember from yesterday. You could call it half. You could call it 1/2. You could write 1 with a digit in the word half. You could say 1 out of 2 parts. Okay, you could also write it like a fraction. So that's what it means when it's asking you to name the share. Let's look over here. Now, even though these are sort of unusual shapes, I can show that this person divided these shares equally, because if I draw some imaginary squares in here, here's 1 square, 2 squares, 3 squares. This person's getting 3 squares of equal size, and the other share is 1, 2, 3 squares of equal size. Okay, so that's what you're going to be working on today for Exploration A. You're going to answer these 4 questions and divide the crackers into equal parts. You'll use the word to name one part, and maybe you can think of more than one name, and that would be a great challenge. Then you have to draw or write how you know that the parts are equal. So what they're telling you is prove it. How do you know each person is getting an equal share? So that's Exploration A. Once you finish Exploration A, you're going to move on to the second exploration, making a number line. So what you'll need, paper strips and a pencil. So my suggestion would be just to get a sheet of computer paper or printer paper and cut it into strips, and then you need a pencil. And we're gonna follow the directions. It says, make a tick mark close to each end of your strip. So you can see the examples up here. They did a tick mark here and a tick mark here at either end. Label the tick mark on the left with 0, as shown here, and the tick mark on the right with 1. Then you should fold the strip in half. Then open the strip. You should have 2 equal parts. Make a tick mark in the fold line. Write a fraction word to label the tick mark. So if you want to write the fraction, you can, but then you also want to make sure that you write the word, the fraction word, to label it, which is one of the names that we've been writing. Then you want to talk about it. What is another name for the tick mark? What is another name for 1? That's a challenge. More you could do. So you could make another paper strip and label it 0 and 1 at the ends, fold it into 4 equal parts, and make a tick at each fold. Write the fraction word to label each tick mark. If you'd like, when you finish making your number line, you can post a picture of it to Seesaw. After you finish working on today's explorations, please complete the math boxes on page 224 of your math journal.